Charles, it's pretty amazing. We came up with the idea for this fatal distraction, and then it just sort of fits perfectly with this story that Laura has broken. How are you? And welcome to the new international version of Sunday with Charles.
Yeah, Sunday/Monday with Charles. But yeah, it's a real treat to be with you. I'm finally over jet lag. It is actually I'm not going to say where I am, but it's a long way from Tipperary, that's for sure, a long way from New York City. And then we see the story that was broken by Laura Loomer. And I think we should dwell on this a little bit because there's also footage of various people, various Black people, calling Kamala Harris out for simultaneously pretending. And by the way, this idiot has not held a press conference now in 14 days since it had emerged she's going to be the presidential candidate. And there are not many days left before the election. So in my experience, if you, in the number one success move, or the number one move to augur for success in business is to ask for the order. If you have a good product, ask somebody to buy it. Ask if you have a good service, ask somebody to procure it. This idiot is not, she's going on RuPaul's drag queen show. She's doing scripted events where it's rumored that homeless people are being paid money to show up, big money, like $150 per person. But she hasn't really gone before the press in even the bare minimum required. And mind you, this is somebody who served in the Senate, who was elected Attorney General of California, who was a prosecutor. And it's an insult to all Americans that this, Frank, I'm going to say what I think she is. She's an ignorant bitch, has not gotten in front. She's full of sass talk and trash talk, but she's unwilling to sit down with people and go into her true background, her true beliefs, articulate a program to move the country forward. She keeps talking about the country needs to move forward, but not backward. How? What is her plan? Tax the living shit out of the rich? Steal everybody's money? Borrow more money? Get us involved in more wars? What is her prescription for moving this country forward? How can we know when she won't even meet with anybody? Anybody serious? And this is just unacceptable. A strong candidate is eager to get out there in the ring and take on all comers. That's what champions do. This isn't a champion. This is not even a DEI hire. This is a disgrace. And we want all of our kids to do well in life. What kind of a role model is this idiot? Right? How did she get into politics? Of the many people who Harvey Weinstein abused, and let's not forget that Michelle Obama praised Harvey Weinstein and had one of her daughters go work for Harvey Weinstein, which is very tough. That is weird, right? That you would tell your daughter, yeah, I think it's a good idea to be an intern for Harvey Weinstein. Right?
What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah. Why don't you let's go over to Victoria's Secret together and get you some work clothes. I mean, but with Kamala, here's an idiot who, as the wonderful, I watched the clip, this woman, Michaela Montgomery down in Atlanta, single Black mother, gets up and she just took it right to Kamala. She said, how could Kamala, ask Mrs. Willie Brown how Kamala feels about Black families, right? I mean, she didn't go into that relationship when she was 29 with a 60-year-old man because she genuinely fell head over heels in love, the way Monica Lewinsky thought she was in love with Bill Clinton. And I'm not excusing Monica Lewinsky's behavior either. Here's a woman who frankly, I'm very puzzled by Kamala Harris's academic background. Her father went to Stanford. Her mother was a doctor, supposedly smart, and she went to Howard University, and I forget which law school, but I mean, she has an undistinguished academic record. She finds herself in the company of a kingmaker in California, and she decides to sleep her way up. I'm not with that. And then I guess she leaves him for Montel Williams. And then she ends up marrying this idiot Emhoff, who I guess his first wife was a very successful film producer, which now explains how he somehow has this expensive mansion in California that Kamala lives in part-time. But here's Emhoff having these two kids, at least one of them, the model, is raising money for Hamas. She's crazy. But meanwhile, Big Daddy here is banging the nanny. She gets pregnant. We don't yet know whether a child was materialized. Right? Is that P Diddy with the one of the Obama kids?
That's Montel Williams with Kamala Harris.
I can't tell. I can't tell. I don't have my glasses on.
Charles. This nighttime version is way better.
Yeah, I don't have my glasses on, so I can't really see the line.
No, that's Montel, I think, with his daughter and Kamala Harris. I don't know. There's some, this is some fancy LA party or something they're at.
Right.
People magazine.
Right, but the point here is that Kamala Harris is one of these people who's gotten ahead playing an inside game. She when it suited her, she pretended she was Indian American, which I suppose she is. Or she's Indian American. She said she was Asian. Now, technically, is India a part of Asia? Yes, but barely. And there's anyway. So she said she was Asian American. Now she's black, and somebody has put up her pedigree chart. And if you do the math, she's less black than Obama is.
I think that was Laura did that too. Laura's been all over this, Charles. She had, because Trump had a classic Trumpy line. He said, she became black. And Laura, I think, had her birth certificate or something.
Yeah, well, and then you trace it back into the ancestry of this person. But, the other thing is, if you go back to, not Barack Obama, the idiot Joe Biden, appearing, I'm not interested in elective politics, but obviously I enjoy talking about it, especially on this show with you. But you think back to Joe Biden. Here's this veteran Solon, from Washington, D.C. His entire life adult life has basically been in elective politics. He's run many elections. There are blacks in Delaware. There are blacks across the country. You would think that somebody would have said, look, Charlemagne the God, pretty important show. If you're going to appear on it, here's this person's background. So Charlemagne famously in 2020, I think it was, started asking him a few pointed questions, and Biden erupted in the interview and said, something like, "You ain't black if you don't support me." Right. So Biden dared. Not just, that wasn't an offhand remark, in the back of Air Force One. I mean, this was on a very important podcast. He challenged this guy. You ain't black if you dare to criticize my policies. So, I mean, Biden somehow is equating your political beliefs with whether or not you're black. Yet it's wrong for Trump to legitimately question the pedigree of this Kamala Harris. And the fact that she didn't come up through life saying, I'm black, I'm black, I'm black. She sold hard this Asian idea, this Indian American idea. That's when she wasn't selling other things hard to get to the top. I mean, this person should be ashamed of herself for throwing the kind of shade. When Trump appeared to back away from the ABC debate, Cedric Richmond, who's one of the co-chairs and another idiot from New Orleans, dared to suggest that Trump was afraid of debating Kamala Harris. That's like saying Mike Tyson is afraid to beat up some unruly asshole who's giving him shit on a plane. We saw what happened there. Right? I don't think Trump is afraid to debate Kamala Harris.
Might as well wrestle an alligator. That's like going to the zoo and picking on a lion. How stupid is that guy?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And then actually there's another thing which we'll talk about now and expand upon in the non-public section, First Amendment forum, that there's a story in the Washington Examiner about the 7 people who are closest to Kamala Harris, and take Doug Emhoff aside. Well, actually start with Doug Emhoff. He was the partner at DLA Piper, and people may not remember that DLA Piper was the law firm, the quote independent law firm that allowed a partner there to assess whether the Clinton Foundation was a fraud or not, in so many words. And they, quote, gave them a clean bill of health, not actually doing the work properly and lying their asses off. That's DLA Piper. James Comey's brother was a partner there. It's a big firm. And now we know that Emhoff is a partner there, and that DLA Piper represents a lot of communist Chinese connected companies and other questionable companies trying to navigate their way through the federal minefield. So of the other 6 who were listed, they're all closely tied to the Clinton world, and some of whom, one, Tina Flournoy, I believe, was Bill Clinton's chief of staff. I may have that wrong. It might be her sister. But you look through all of this, these people are all very much tied in to Clinton world, of course, the Obama world, but to Clinton world, with all the attendant dangers of being linked into that epic fraud. If you punch these people's names, Minion Moore, for example, into, I found that to be a curious name, because Minion, I believe, isn't that the sign that you put for if you're a Jewish family, you put it on your front door or something?
That's
or
a
what
mezuzah.
Is a minion?
That's
mezuzah.
a
Okay.
mezuzah. A minion is, I think, 10 or 12 people.
Oh yeah,
to conduct a prayer.
The minimum number of people to do what do you call it?
But in this case, she might as well be a little green, googly-eyed minion following.
Yeah, right. Maybe that's what she's named after.
Right.
Just another Y, not the I. But anyway, you punch her name into the Podesta WikiLeaks, and you'll see that these people are all just intimately tied into Clinton land. And I think what's going on, Donna Brazile is a despicable human being who gave the debate questions to Hillary Clinton in 2016 when she was working for one of the media concerns. I mean, these are, Tina Flournoy. These people are all people who have much to lose when, as and if Trump gets in with a real attorney general and a real head of the IRS and a determination to prosecute charity fraud, large and small, but especially in these elite, supposedly presidential foundations. There's a story circulating that the new Taliban has gotten smart enough to realize that nobody's prosecuting charity fraud. So the way they're stealing money is by setting up fake charities to which various government authorities are contributing funds to stabilize Afghanistan. It's going to fake charities because the Taliban are smart enough to realize that nobody's enforcing charity laws. I mean,
it's ridiculous.
I mean, and then we learned, on the excellent reporting you're doing on this assassination attempt, now we learned that the first time counter-sniper teams may have been deployed to protect Trump was in Butler. I mean, what the fuck is going on with our government money? But what do these people do? Do they just show up to work occasionally and pretend they're doing stuff? And any tough questions, that's confidential, national security, can't discuss that, ongoing investigation, can't do this, can't. Meanwhile, the donut bill is astronomical, and the fancy jet bill, and the people getting memoirs, and husbands are getting nannies, and this is just it's disgusting what's going on. It's disgusting how the mainstream media is not doing its job, or maybe its job is to just cover all this shit up and get in on the parties. It's disgusting.
I agree, Charles. That was a power rant right there. They're getting nannies. They're getting nannies pregnant. For people who maybe missed it, Laura had this story that Doug Emhoff had cheated on his first wife with their nanny, impregnated the nanny. It's kind of blowing up. It really, for whatever reason, it's captured people's attention. And so the reason why I was thinking today's title is so appropriate, it just doesn't seem possible that Kamala is actually going to be the DNC candidate, and I think, or rather the Democrat candidate. And, the whole rejecting the debate with Trump seems like she's just a distraction until the convention when they will shove in Michelle that seems like a hint, right? I don't know if we showed this, we were talking maybe before the show, but there was a tweet earlier from I think this is the official Democrat, Twitter, and it was saying, okay, everybody get ready for the convention, and have all these signs that say Michelle.
Yeah. I mean, it's been obvious all along. I mean, I think, I honestly believe that Michelle Obama is an atrocious manager. And there's nothing in her resume that says she's a good manager. Go back to what she was doing in Chicago, in the job that she had in a hospital. Some have said, I haven't looked at the details, so I can't say that this is my view, but some have alleged that her job at that hospital was to deny people coverage. She's got paid all
black people.
Yeah, and it's I don't know the truth of it, but this is not somebody. If you were, we need a turnaround expert. We need a team of turnaround experts, and turnaround experts are people who look very quickly at the thing that is arguing to be turned around and determines quickly. I mean, the real value of a turnaround expert is somebody who can look at a situation and say, this business is a corpse, bury it. Don't try to turn it around. Because you can burn a lot of money trying to pretend that corpses can be brought back to life. So I don't think America is a corpse, right? I think America can be turned around. So that said, you've got to understand what are the real devils that need to be addressed in the American economy, the American situation. Number one, in my view, is a government that is addicted to corruption, addicted to inefficiency, and that is burdened by public sector unions. If you're not prepared to take on the public sector unions at some stage, this country will become financially bankrupt. It may not be a corpse, but it's going to go bankrupt. Public sector union, there's no sector in the American economy, none, where you can go and not show up for work, do a shitty job, and argue that you ought to get a higher, compensation and get a pension in like 20 years. There's no part of the private sector where you can do that.
But we can only talk about it after lunch, Charles, because we're busy until then.
Yeah. The day next September when I work. That's got to change. And Michelle Obama is the queen of parties, the queen of private jet travel, the queen of sinecures, the queen of fancy living, the queen of mansions. This is not somebody who wakes up every day. Sam Zell is dead. He was a great real estate turnaround operator. His nickname was the Grave Dancer. And, he was somebody who just woke up in the morning before he brushed his teeth, he spit out a bunch of nails. So that was a nice dream. That's not Michelle Obama. And so the people who are trying to slot her into the presidency are people who want to continue the path we've been on, where George W. Bush pretended he was president, where Barack Obama pretended he was president. Then it was interrupted by Trump, who said, listen, man, I'm president. I don't want the money. I'll work for $1 a year. I'll lose billions of dollars during my presidency, but I need to make America great again. Then we're back to this team of morons, one dumber than the next. If Kamala Harris, in doing her due diligence on Emhoff, didn't know about the affair, perhaps I can excuse her for not noticing that Joe Biden has been, a Slurpee since January 2021, if not beforehand. The guy there's nothing there, right? And you're the vice president of the United States. How do you not notice this? So, either she's so stupid that she couldn't notice that Joe Biden was, in her weekly lunch, Joe Biden's asking for applesauce and 3 nurses to spoon it into his mouth in a bib so it doesn't get on his custom-made suit. She had to know the guy was non-compos mentis for months.
Somebody was saying that it's her obligation to bring in the 25th Amendment, and that she's... Yeah, right. She's demonstrating that she's not even competent to be vice president. Just to something you were speaking about a moment ago, Charles, there was a pretty interesting interview where Elon Musk revealed that he's spoken to Trump about a government efficiency commission that he would participate in. I think that even if people have doubts about Elon Musk, that's a pretty good idea. He was good at firing 75% of Twitter and making it work better. I like that.
Well, we had a phrase when we were doing deal making, and who's in the room when the final decision is made, right? Generally speaking, when you're trying to do really big deals and stuff like that, you don't want to do them in a room of 100 people, right? You want to figure out who are the key people you need to make the final decision, right? Those are the people who really understand the core of all the issues. They'll see things that maybe the top dog is not going to see. Those are the people you want around you. Typically, it's maybe 5 people, maybe 8. It's certainly not, a McKinsey team and a Booz Allen team and fat Chris Christie saying he's going to beat up Donald Trump in a cage match. I mean, those kind of people, just let him, get into his tent-side swimming suit at the pool there at the beach and state-owned property and pour on the Coppertone and pretend he's relevant. I mean, there's so many people around the federal government and around these bureaucracies around the world who need to shut the fuck up and go and do something productive in the private sector. I mean, this guy is a maroon, as my Lebanese friend used to call morons. I mean, he's a maroon. And there's so many of them. Well, Pete Buttigieg, when's his report on racist roads going to be ready? I mean, or AOC, I'm a great bartender, so make me president of the United States. And I don't even know if she's a great bartender, but we've got to treat her with respect, because she's in Congress and not representing her district, canceling the Amazon deal, I circulated a story. Apparently now the Upper West Side, according to the New York Post, which may have it right or may not have it right, there's tons of mentally ill and illegal immigrants roaming the streets of the Upper West Side now.
That's the whole entire city. It's the whole city.
Yeah. I mean,
Charles, the best thing about AOC, they could keep her campaigning with Democrats and then they lose.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God.
That's how.
But yeah, and then meanwhile around the world, Lebanon is now issued. I was in Lebanon. I had a summer job in Egypt in 1975, and on the way back, the airplane stopped in Beirut. And flying in, it was just really spectacularly beautiful. These cedar trees on the mountaintops. You could ski up, not in the summer, but you could ski in the morning and go to the beach by day. In the afternoon, you could have there's wonderful food in Lebanon. Lebanon has been a mess for 50 fucking years, right? And
Why is that?
Well, it's these globalists, right? It's the Soroses of the world. It's the Klaus Schwab, when he's not busy wearing Star Trek outfits. I mean, these people go around and they think there's a one-size-fits-all approach to life. Isn't it fun to have yet another international conference where we can have caviar and hookers? I mean, the answer is that if you want to have law and order in a country, begins with the people. Are the people educated? Are they interested? Are they engaged? Do they have hope? And then it moves to the family, and it moves to if you live in an apartment, your apartment building, your street, your borough, your city, your state. The last thing you need is a bunch of bartenders like AOC and boneheads like Kamala Harris. I mean, think of that bonehead. She goes to the Munich International Security Conference, and she basically signals to the Russians, you need to invade. Because the Russians had drawn a red line. She said, we're going to cross that fucking red line. After all, what is Ukraine? I mean, it's right next to you. I mean, if you wanted to do something equivalent to what we're pushing the Ukrainians to do in Mexico, we wouldn't care. We'd just say, fine, yeah, no problem. Come on in,
It would have even been better, Charles, if Kamala Harris went to this security conference, give a PowerPoint presentation with a picture of a crane in it, and she'd say, here are you, and this is a crane. Ukraine is a country.
Exactly. Space. Man, that's just I can't believe she actually said this, but, because I'm not great with technology, but I mean, she actually said, isn't the cloud wonderful? It's up there in the sky.
Yeah, she was explaining the cloud. It was so stupid. But Charles, we're almost out of time here. We're gonna complete the show in the First Amendment Forum. People are going to be able to join us on odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth, crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com, and subscribestar.com, and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. There's a lot more to talk about, Charles, with the assassination attempt, the investigations going on into that, the continued idiotic press conferences from the Secret Service, all this nonsense with Kamala Harris, her husband, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll be right back, everybody. Stay with us.